This is a weird time of the year to be doing a GoPro review. I mean, it's right in the middle of the release cycle of the GoPro Hero 9. It's been out for a couple of months, and the GoPro 10, or whatever it's going to be called, is coming out in September. So this is right in the middle. It's too early for the GoPro Hero 9 to be discounted, and it's a little bit late in the cycle to see what's coming up. So there's a little bit of waiting time between now and when the 10 comes out, but the 9 has been out long enough to where it's not discounted. So if you've already got a GoPro or you've got an action camera and you've been thinking about upgrading, does it make sense right now in the middle of 2021, in the middle of the GoPro release cycle? Does it make sense to upgrade at all? And if you don't already have an action camera and you've been thinking about getting one, should you just try to wait 6 months and miss out on all the summer sports that are going to be coming up? Should you wait to see what the GoPro Hero 10 or whatever that will be called, to see what that brings? Well, let me tell you. Hi everybody, foXnoMad here, and today I want to help you travel smarter by reviewing the GoPro Hero 9, which is a little bit weird to review the GoPro Hero 9 right now because the camera has been out for a while, so there are plenty of full in-depth reviews that you can find on YouTube. This really isn't that. So what you usually see in a product's life cycle is when it first comes out, there will be a bunch of reviews and first impressions detailing all the new features and upgrades and everything you want to know about a piece of tech. And then there are the ones that come out a lot later into the cycle, like my road tested series, which sees how products hold up over a long period of time and how durable they are and how they compare to new stuff that's already come out. But what you don't typically see are reviews right in the middle of the release cycle of a product. Those are a little bit harder to find. So here is your mid-2021 GoPro Hero 9 review, answering a lot of your common questions about, is it worth upgrading right now? If you already have a GoPro, and if you've been thinking about getting a GoPro, is it a good time to buy right now? First, let's start off with some of the biggest differences between the GoPro Hero 9 and its predecessors. The size, for one thing, bucking the trend of ever-shrinking electronics, the 9 is larger than all of the GoPros before it. The 9 is 55 millimeters tall and 71 millimeters wide and has a beefier 158 gram weight. For comparison, that's a solid 40 grams heavier than the Hero 7, but in pretty much all the ways that matter, the bigger size is an advantage. GoPro has decided to add a bigger battery in the Hero 9, giving you a little over 2 hours of 4K video recording compared with the 30 to 40 minutes you get from earlier versions. The screen, for those of you who've ever used the Hero 7 for example, know that it's not very responsive in the best of conditions, and swiping to get to the menu or view videos you've already taken isn't particularly smooth. The larger screen of the 9 is more responsive, and it takes fewer repeat attempts at swiping or tapping, and it has more space to let you manipulate quick functions directly from the view screen, like enabling slow motion, switching shooting angles. There are 4 different widths you can choose from: super, wide, linear, linear with horizon leveling, and narrow. Personally, I like to use a GoPro as a secondary camera when I don't want to take out my larger mirrorless camera. For example, I'll use the GoPro, or when I want to get different angles or different shots, or just sort of mix it up with cameras in general, I use a GoPro as my secondary one. I tend to shoot in wide angles, so super is a little bit too wide for me unless I'm doing action sports. So I tend to shoot in wide, and linear is just a little bit too narrow for me. I like this slightly distorted look that wide gives you. What horizon leveling does, which is new on the Hero 9, is it keeps the horizon smooth and stable for about up to 45 degrees. Essentially, it lets you bounce around and run, whatever you want to do, and keep the image steady. It works best when hypersmooth is enabled. The power button of the Hero 9 is also a little bit more responsive, so if I hold that button down, it's going to power off. I hold it down, it's going to power back up, and there we go. Which, unlike the Hero 7, where you kind of had to push down the button, wait, and sometimes it wouldn't power on or power off, or you just kind of cycle through these modes: photo mode, time-lapse, and video. So it wasn't quite as responsive. So it's nice that the Hero 9 is going to save you a lot of aggravation from just turning it on and off compared to previous versions. The shutter button being larger makes it also easier to plunk down a finger, which is nice when you're wearing big gloves, like when you're skiing, for example, or swimming and you've got to record in otherwise tricky situations. The door, though, the door to get to the battery and to get to the USB cable for charging is a real pain to use. You've got to stick your fingernail in this little groove here and pop the door open, but it requires a bit more force than I'd like to use with my fingernails. I end up using my shirt often to get the door open so my nail doesn't snap in half. Now, if you're in the upgrade camp, if you're using a GoPro Hero 7 or before, there are a couple of nice features which are really going to stand out to you. One is that the microphone is on the front. So this is what it sounds like using the GoPro Hero 9's microphone. That microphone is on the front as opposed to the Hero 7 and those before it with the microphone grill on the bottom, which makes it easier and makes it a little bit better to catch sounds, and it sounds a little bit better. Now, if you're recording yourself indoors, for example, or outdoors in non-windy conditions, then this microphone will do fine even for vlogging. I've done an audio test with the Hero 7 and an external microphone in windy conditions to give you an idea of what those two sound like side by side. I'll leave a link to that in the description below if you want to check it out. Now, switching over to the bottom here on the Hero 9, these two embedded mounts like you have on the Hero 8 but not on the Hero 7 and before means you don't need a separate cage like this if you're going to put your GoPro on a tripod or selfie stick. That's less stuff that you have to carry. So let me show you the biggest single reason to upgrade from an older GoPro to the Hero 9. And that is, you guessed it, this front-facing screen right here. If you're going to use your GoPro purely for action or sports shots, and you typically mount or wear your GoPro when you're skating or surfing or otherwise have the camera facing outward, then the front-facing screen isn't going to be as revolutionary for you. But if you vlog or film yourself or just use angles like facing down or up where you can't see the back of the camera, being able to frame yourself with the front-facing screen is invaluable. It's a feature you're going to use all the time, and I suspect if you're thinking about it, if you're just imagining, oh, it would be nice to be able to frame my shots just by looking at this, then you're probably in the vlogging camp and probably makes sense to upgrade to the Hero 9. It's not a touchscreen and the image lags a second or so behind what's actually happening, but the ability to make sure what you're filming is in frame is the main purpose here. I do wish you could turn on or off the screens or flip them when you're recording like you can on the DJI Osmo Action with a double tap, but the extra battery life does balance out some of the added power requirements of that front-facing screen. And if you really want to, you can go in the menu settings and just turn it off completely. So should you upgrade from an older GoPro to the GoPro Hero 9? Well, if you're coming from a GoPro Hero 7 or before, then the Hero 9 is going to give you much better image quality, resolution, and features. But if you're already happy with what your GoPro can do now for the things that you shoot, then the Hero 9 isn't a very obvious upgrade. It's a good spec bump, but it's not a very obvious upgrade if you're already happy with the kind of things that you're shooting and the way you're shooting with the older GoPro that you might have now. At their core, all of these GoPros are still doing the same thing, being tough little cameras that are built for action, and that's even more true if you've already got a GoPro Hero 8. But if you're someone who's going to use that front-facing screen a lot, like if you're a vlogger or you tend to put the camera in angles where you can't see the back screen, so either up against a wall or on the floor or on a ceiling or mounted where you can't really see whether or not you're in frame or just make sure all the stuff that you want is in there, then that front-facing screen is going to be a total game changer for you. And it makes the Hero 9 a great upgrade. And once you start using it, it's really hard to go back to an older GoPro where you can't actually see what you're filming, because it creates a sort of disorientation when you can't see yourself and you can't frame and make sure that everything you want to get in the shot is in that shot. I think GoPro now realizes that a lot of people aren't just mounting the GoPro on their chest or helmet, that they're actually using these as vlogging cameras. And I suspect if you're watching this far into the video, that's probably going to be you. But if your existing GoPro is just collecting dust and you only take it out once or twice a year for a beach trip, then it doesn't really make sense to shell out the $450 for the Hero 9. Pro tip though, if you are going to get the Hero 9, you can save $150 off the total price by signing up for a 1-year $50 GoPro subscription, which gets you a couple of features like cloud storage, but it also acts as an insurance. So total, it's going to knock off $100 off the price of the GoPro Hero 9. So there you have it. That's my mid-2021 review of the GoPro Hero 9. Hopefully it answers some questions you might be having in this weird time to buy an electronic. Spring is typically when we don't see a lot of product releases, but you might have thought, I was going to get that at the end of last year and just kind of held off. And now here you are wondering whether or not you should get it. Hopefully with the GoPro Hero 9, this helps answer your questions. But if you do have anything that you want to ask me, let me know down in the comments below. And while you're down there, hit the like and subscribe buttons. I'll have new videos for you every week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. screen off all the time. But the additional, balance out the, but the added battery life, but the extended